And so a new 100 cost unit is upon us, and that will usher in a new era of having 100 cost units for basically every single type. It's pretty much already started with Glaciella and some of the past 100 cost units, Zazan, Black Witch Helena. I mean, maybe not for Dark. Maybe it started with Zazan. But as looking towards the future, I'm sort of thinking that it might be time to invest in one of these units. Usually, a lot of us don't necessarily chase after double cost units, but I think we're now in a good time in War of the Visions where we can save the 36,000 and then be able to afford one of these units as a pity. Worst case scenario, of course. And as we're kind of coming off of these other limited banners, Christmas, Final Fantasy VII, Lara Croft, Summer, like there's probably one or two or many of those banners that we've all pulled on, and we're pretty much dying in terms of Viz. So I'm looking at my Viz now, and I do, in my mind, want to use some of it to build some of those units. But part of me just says to just slow build, slow build, slow build, and pull for a unit that you might want. Since we have Elena coming up, I am very tempted to pull on her, and I think I'm pretty much going to pull on her. But at the same time, I kind of want to look towards some of these other units and see how they can fit into my account. And so I feel like we should all do the same thing and sort of look at these units and figure out how they fit into our accounts. So let's kind of just go through it a little bit here. And we're going to start off with Jaden. And so I'm kind of looking at Jaden and I'm sort of just picturing what units exactly he's going to fit in with. I know this picture looks a little weird with Jaden looking huge in the background, but I kind of wanted to put the focus on him and sort of wanted to go through sort of the recent missile units, the recent EX of missile units. So this is what I put together, and I'm kind of looking at this, and I know that I have some of these units, namely Lilith, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, and Barrett, and I also am looking forward to Lucia for sure, Lucia EX, and you know, I kind of have my eye on Prompto. I don't really know how much I'm going to be able to build him, but he is going to be a free unit, so I'm definitely excited about that. And another two very good potential combinations with Jaden are going to be Fina and Rosa, as they're both magic missile type units. And of course, that reminds me of the old magic missile from Dungeons and Dragons. But I think that could definitely end up being a pretty dangerous combination. But I'm sort of thinking that I was kind of thinking of Jaden as being the magic missile unit, so I kind of was saying I don't really have a magic missile unit per se, but you know, War of the Visions is not really that rigid, and I think as these units are starting to release, I think the game is becoming more flexible and it's going to offer more options. So I think even just having missile units is going to be enough. And I think these units are going to work well with Jaden. So I think Jaden is definitely going to be a very, very, very good unit to kind of keep an eye on, especially since there's so many missile units that are good. And obviously there's some that I didn't include. I'm just, the glaring omission here is Frederica. But these are just the ones that are kind of on the radar right now for me. So I just kind of threw all of those together. All right, so that's pretty much Jaden. Let's move to the next one, and that's going to be Oberon. So Oberon is a pretty cool looking unit. Actually, just kind of taking the time to look at what he might actually go together with. I think he's got a really good selection of units. Of course, we just got Camillo, and we're going to get Velm pretty soon. So I think those are going to be good for sure. And I myself, I already have Kane, so I definitely want to get his EX. Kane is probably one of my first units that I felt like I had a really strong unit. So definitely thinking of the possibility of pairing him up with Oberon. course, Glaciella was really good when she came out, and for her to get an EX, I think it's going to make her relevant again. And Victoria is definitely going to be another one where she has Frostbite as part of one of her EX moves. So I think that's definitely going to be super potential here. And these are EXs that are coming pretty soon, basically. And then I'm going to say it wrong. I think it's Arnea or Arenia or something like that from the Final Fantasy 15 collab. I didn't realize she was going to be piercing. I'm pretty sure I probably knew that a month ago or whatever, but that was just like not on my radar necessarily. So I think that there's actually some pretty good options, and I think Pierce is going to be definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. There's definitely a lot of good options, and there's definitely other options as well. But I think I kind of left off Christmas Machery here. Definitely one that just got the EX, so that's going to be another one to kind of watch out for. So I'm kind of thinking too that like there's also, even without Oberon in the picture and even without Jaden in the picture, there's still going to be some pretty good support for each other. So even if you don't end up pulling Oberon, having these units, especially some of these older units that you might have a bunch of Mind Spheres for, I think it's going to be great to sort of be able to pair them together. And not only that, two of them are Selection Quest units. So I know Selection Quest can be annoying and difficult to finish, but I think that they definitely open up possibilities for you to not have to worry about having to pull a unit and basically just being able to work for the unit. So I think with each other, that's going to be super helpful to kind of have that type of stuff. All right, so I'm kind of thinking of Elena, and I know she's a slasher, so she's basically going to go well with any kind of slasher. So at first I kind of started looking at the light slashers of the group, and so clearly we have a lot of light slashers that we can use. There's even Ramza, but I think these are all going to be pretty good light slashers to team up with Elena. But Elena does happen to be on the magic side and not so much the physical side. So some other units that I thought of were Halloween Rairu. He does have the Rune Knight. Howlet is going to be one of them, but this guy here to the right of Helena, I think his name is Varush or Varuk, depends on how they translate it. But he's pretty much going to be the new Howlet, and basically the EX Howlet before Howlet gets a chance to get EX. So I believe he has Rune Knight, and he has like, I think White Mage, but he's going to be very, very similar to Howlet. So I think he might be a very good option to team up as sort of like the magic sword user type of person. And so continuing onward here, I was kind of just looking at Noctis because I feel like Noctis might have been sort of a Cloud, the next Cloud type of person. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be good or not. I haven't really looked into it that much. This is kind of just meant to be a basic overview. But he's going to be Earth type, and so that's going to allow him to pair up with who you see on the screen. I kind of just stuck Luelle here. I'm not really sure how she's going to work well together with these units, but she does have Rune Knight as well. She's going to have slash attacks with her, so she would also technically be good with Elena. So that's just a bunch of different options that we have. And that's sort of, to me, it's sounding like the addition of all these units and like this basically rush, this onslaught of units that we're getting. I think if you really kind of carefully try to pick out what you want from these units, it's definitely going to open up options for basically being able to put teams together that are kind of unexpected or kind of like maybe expected a little bit. And so maybe we can, I'm not saying like mono element is bad. Maybe we can do things like, all slash, a rainbow different slash, or like all magic slash, or things like that. There's definitely a lot of good possibilities for this. And then, of course, last but not least is the Dark team. I think in terms of Dark, I think Dark has pretty much always had the ability to have like different kinds of options and sort of just explore different types of attack teams. But Dark seems to just be getting stronger and stronger. And, and now, instead of having like maybe a mixed Dark team of having Helena and maybe Dwayne or Stern and Garvel or something like that, or maybe someone else, now you're gonna kind of have an opportunity to do 3 magic users, dark magic users. Now that Golbez is gonna be coming out, so that's gonna be something that it's definitely gonna sound interesting. So in terms of all of those possibilities, I definitely do have some from each group, and of course, like I mentioned, we're gonna be able to mix and match. So another person that I didn't really add here was Kane. So Kane, I kind of had him in the piercing, but Kane is still going to work well with dark units. So he does have /2 technically. So, it's kind of what I'm trying to say here. It's like you're going to be able to mix and match a whole bunch of things. Now, again, going back to what I'm thinking in terms of spending my viz, I am definitely sort of buying into the hype right now and sort of wanting to go for Elena. And I think I will go for her, but probably not in the first few days. I still have to build up my viz. I need to go through the story events, and I'm pretty close to being able to pity. What I want to make sure that I can pity before I start pulling. So I'm probably not going to pull for the first couple of days. But I'm definitely leaning to her, and pretty much the deciding factor is gonna be how good the banners are. And so this is assuming that we do get the Zazan, Dwayne, and Fryevia banners back. But hopefully they're like last time where you can pull multiple, like all the units are in each other's banners. They might not be boosted, but they are there in the banner. And so the other thing that I'm kind of thinking is if you do pull one of the units along the way, that gives you the opportunity to, like, let's say you're pulling for Elena and you pull Dwayne or something like that. That gives you the opportunity to buy Elena at the pity, or vice versa. If you pull Elena along the way and you're close enough to pity, you might just say, oh, let me keep pulling and I'll pity Dwayne or something like that. Or maybe switch to the Dwayne banner and maybe get him, maybe get Fryevia or something like that. And then sort of pity Dwayne or pity doesn't, however it ends up working out. I know I kind of mentioned this before last time they kind of came around, but I think that I was more talking about because they gave those 50 tokens, and who knows, we might actually get some tokens again this time. I kind of doubt it, but you really never know. But we do have 3 weeks to build it this time, so that kind of gives a little bit more leeway. It gives us more Chocobo. All the Chocobo expeditions are definitely going to be back. They've already confirmed that. So I think that's going to be really, really good in terms of this coming limited banner stretch. I know people are already saying like they're exhausted when it comes to, they've already spent their viz on other stuff. But if you maybe skipped Lara Croft, I think it might be a pretty decent idea to pull for something this time around. And if not, I think it's perfectly fine. There's going to be great units coming out. And I kind of, in terms of double cost, I kind of just stopped there at Uberon. But there's going to be Joom. I know Joom is part of the Crystal Warriors collaboration, whatever you would call that, the fest. And they just announced a new Crystal Warrior fire type arrow user, ranger. So definitely, I'm not sure if they mentioned, but I think it's going to be 100 cost. So I think that's definitely going to be another cool option to have. And it's definitely cool to see these different types of units that are not really they're kind of very different from what we have here in like the regular War of Divisions units and the whole crew there. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I think it's going to be an interesting time, and definitely try to plan to get one of these double cost units. Try to get to pity. Don't just pull willy-nilly. I mean, yes, you can get lucky, and you know, it's very fine to get luck, but I think it's a very good idea to, if you do get lucky, use that unit, but kind of maybe plan for one of them and save up. Make sure you have enough viz there to take it to pity if you have to, because otherwise you're kind of just throwing a lot of viz down the drain, which you could be saving for a later unit. Alright, so I think those are kind of my thoughts right now. I know there's going to be an even further onslaught that's probably going to last till January, if not further. So it's kind of a matter of just picking, deciding to skip. I just decided to skip the Christmas units. They're probably going to come back again, but I was going to do that 6K paid, but I decided not to. I just wasn't feeling super enthusiastic to pull for that and maybe not get the unit that I want. So I kind of just decided to skip that. Alright, so that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm just going to end it there. And hopefully we all have good luck with these banners. Who really knows what's going to happen? It's kind of, it's just kind of so much right now. I know. Still trying to build everything and slow building people and saving up mind spheres and star shards and stuff like that. So keep at it, guys, and make sure you get the stuff that you want. Alright, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Talk to you later.